The Empire has fallen. The rebels have achieved victory on a galactic scale, yet the fires still burn from Imperial rule. Warlords and Imperial sympathizers remain scattered throughout the galaxy. One such tyrant, Thrawn, thought to be beaten at the liberation of Lothal, is rumored to be plaguing the galaxy. We follow our daring hero, Ahsoka, on her search for a friend, and Jedi hero, Ezra, and her hunt for the heir to the Empire.
Welcome to Talk About Tatooine. I'm Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
And we are twin brothers here to bring you what's new in nerddom and give colorful commentary on our favorite subjects. Welcome to our cantina. Grab a drink and settle in as we set course for realities beyond our own.
All right, guys, welcome to episode 38. Today's recording date is August 4th, 2023, and this episode will be released on Monday, August 14th. Today, we're going to be discussing our Ahsoka predictions because Ahsoka, the series, will be premiering several days after this podcast comes out. But first, we're going to start off with our starter questions, and make sure to stick around towards the end. We do have some fun bits of nerddom news as well.
Awesome. Here's our opening question. If you could change one thing about the Star Wars universe, what would it be? Would you add something? Would you subtract something? Or would you take something that already exists and modify it a little bit?
Ooh, so I would add Revan into the universe with a fully fledged backstory almost immediately. Like, hands down, no questions about it. That's what I would do. I want him back in the story. I want games about him. I want books about him. I even want TV shows about him. People love Revan and people love Star Wars history. So I think we could get some good backing on this.
That's a really good point. Canonizing Revan would, I think, be a really smart move for the franchise, because there's a lot of story about Revan that we only ever hear in exposition in the Knights of the Old Republic games, as far as like his rise to basically the supreme commander of the Jedi armies, but then his fall from grace to become a Sith Lord. And then, at least in the legend story, the path you take as him is once he like loses his memory, he becomes a Jedi again, and he, for lack of a better word, repents and goes on to defeat the Sith and the Starforge and takes all that out. I think that's a no-brainer. For me, mine's a little bit more abstract. I want to see Star Wars be a little bit more brutal. Not rated R, but I think I think it just needs a little bit more grit in the movies. And that has a lot to do with like combat cinematography. I understand like the gunslinging and things like that in kind of the more Western style, but when we're talking about like larger engagements, for example, the Scarif fight scenes were really good because they were trained guerrilla fighters and they fought like trained guerrilla fighters, and it was really, really compelling. It wasn't just everyone shooting from the hip, and shooting from the hip actually really bothers me in movies. I'm not a huge fan. But something I would really also want to see is like more epic lightsaber battles. The thought that comes to mind is the Deceived storyline from the Old Republic.
So good, which we will be talking about in our next episode, by the way.
Yeah,
for sure. Oh, dude, yes.
So if you're not aware of what that is it started actually as a trailer for the MMORPG Star Wars The Old Republic, which is not the same as Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. They are different things. One is an RPG, the other is an MMORPG. In short terms, episode 3, Star Wars episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, is not the only time that the Jedi Temple is under full assault. In this, you see a totally different side to the old Sith. This is before the Rule of Two, so there are many, many Sith. So you basically see like waves of red lightsabers just sweep through the Jedi Temple, and it's savage. And it's very well choreographed, and the combat is awesome, and they use their force powers magnificently. More force powers, I think, would be huge. Anytime you see Satele Shan in any of those trailers, like this isn't in the Deceived trailer, and I'm totally getting off topic, but one time she blocks a lightsaber with her hand, and that's awesome. Like, that,
so cool.
Thank you for your little shotgun cough, Barney. Are you okay? Say, yes, Father, I just had too much hair in my throat. He will sometimes do his shotgun cough, and I call it that because its decibel rating is so loud that it sounds like a shotgun, and it sprays like a shotgun, and it's just one single blast from his throat. It's so gross. And one time he did it in my ear while I was driving because he's sitting in the back in the hammock. I nearly killed us all. It was so loud.
We're going down. We're taking fire.
We should move on, though.
I love that. I love that all. I think that is a really, really good thing. And I'm so excited to talk about all of this today. I love our Star Wars episodes so much. I get so much fulfillment out of filming and writing
Star Wars
and doing all that stuff. So I'm super excited. Cool. It's the coolest.
It's why we gave away lightsabers as our first ever giveaway, which we are totally in the red for, but that's fine.
That's all right.
We're just
I'm
happy
still
that
super
people are
excited with the
listening.
progress so far. Absolutely.
Yes.
So that being said, we are going to go over our spoiler warning right now because we're talking about Ahsoka, a series that has not come out yet, but we are going to be talking about like things from Rebels, potentially things from Mandalorian. There's a lot of different parts of the Star Wars universe that we're bringing in. So if for some reason you haven't watched Rebels or Mandalorian, I guess now's your time to eject because we're going to be talking about them and kind of how they all lead together to this main character of Ahsoka. That being said, if you guys are listening or watching us, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Biggest thing you guys can do to support us is also to follow us on Patreon. I say that wrong every single time. Huge thanks to our top patrons, Mike May, Isaac Young, and Luke Skywalker. You guys are literally the reason we do this. And honestly, you guys have been a delight to chat with on our Discord server, which honestly has been the most fun I've had on Discord in a very, very long time.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's so good. For just $5
I love our
a
Discord
month.
Community.
Yes, and our Discord community has all chosen the dark side so far. For $5 a month, you can basically start supporting us. You can choose that as a light side or dark side tier. They're the same, but we might do some different things with who's on light side and who's on dark later down the line. But it supports us over here at Talk About Tatooine, so we can do more awesome things like more giveaways. We were super excited to do our lightsaber giveaway, and we want to do more of that. But we need to make sure that we're not just giving out free money all the time. So we want to make sure we are in the black. We also want to start some new game servers as well, which is actually going to be something we talk about in one of our next meetings. And we are going to be honestly just producing higher quality content. If you guys don't know this by now, I have an absolute like junker of the PC. And if we can get better hardware, we can get better editing software because you'd need the hardware to run it. And basically we can get just higher quality for you guys. So really, thank you guys again so much from the bottom of our hearts. And with that, let's get into the show.
For sure. And just to tack onto that a little bit, like we do this podcast because it's fun. Like we do it because it's a lot of fun, but we also don't want to give you guys a little steaming pile of doo-doo. We like things to be nice. Nice things are nice, to quote a very wise man.
A very wise burger flipping man.
Ahsoka predictions. Probably right out of the gate, we should probably talk about who we think is going to live and who we think is going to die.
Sorry, my mouth is open because I have not read your notes up until this point, and I am reading some of your notes, and I'm a little aghast, and also I like your predictions almost better than mine. But if we are talking about who will live and who will die, I think the really easy one is Ezra's still alive. That's like my easy prediction. Like, I feel like that's low-hanging fruit.
But will he be alive at the end of the show?
Yes. I do believe he will be alive at the end of the show. Absolutely.
Okay.
He's already made his sacrifice, so that would be kind of like lame if he got kicked twice. Like that would be kind of hurtful. But I do have a more outrageous prediction for who I think is going to die in this series, but I'd like to hear some more from you before I get into that.
So if you haven't watched the Rebels TV series, because that is really what this is, it's a spiritual successor to the Rebels TV show. That's where we first saw Thrawn on television. That's where we see Ahsoka become part of Phoenix Squadron. She starts off as a Rebel spy under the codename Fulcrum. And so that's why we really see a lot of Phoenix Squadron in this show. So who's going to live and who's going to die? We have exactly one confirmed person who lives out of this because we see her in episode 9. Well, we see her ship, we see the ghost. And I'm pretty sure it is confirmed that Hera will live. This is based on the fact that, oh, actually, no, that is 100% because she's in Alphabet Squadron, which happens way after this show. She is General Hera Syndulla of the New Republic Navy. She's fine.
Oh yeah, she's surviving for sure.
Everyone else, Ahsoka, Ezra, Zeb, Sabine, and Chopper. Am I missing anyone? I don't think I am.
Not that I can think of. Living members of Phoenix Squadron? No, I think you nailed it.
Yes, because Kanan's already dead. Big F. Well, we don't even know if Zeb is going to show up. I don't think Zeb will get killed. I'll just go through the list real quick. Zeb is going to stay alive. Hera is going to stay alive. Sabine is going to die. Ezra is going to live, and Chopper's going to die, and Ahsoka will live. And this is my season 1 predictions.
Okay, so I really like those. I disagree on just 2 points, and I think Sabine is going to live because I think they're going to incorporate her more into the Mandalorian franchise as well. I think you're going to start to see her start to
a crossover. That's smart.
I think they're going to start to play her along with Bo-Katan and Mando. And so I think she's going to live. However, this is like my my kind of outrageous prediction is not only do I think Zeb is going to die at the end of season 1, I think Thrawn is going to personally kill Zeb at the end of season 1.
Oh, that would be so devastating. And here's the thing. Being devastated doesn't mean a show is bad. Like,
I think this is good. So here are some spoilers. And we've already said Kanan Jarrus is dead, or Caleb Dune, depending on how you want to look at him.
That's not a spoiler. That happened years ago.
Yeah, but you never know if somebody's watched it or not. Because Rebels is technically a kid's show. So
barely.
Kanan dies in a huge heroic fireball. So they've already shown that they have essentially started stripping away the plot armor for these characters. I think you're very astute to say that Hera's going to survive. She's already in stuff. So it's like, that's just like making sure you're up on what content has already been produced. They're not going to kill Ahsoka in season 1 of Ahsoka. That's a great way to make people really upset. Unless they told people originally, like, hey, this is a one-off series. If you prefaced that, I think that would be more important. So that would work. I don't think they're going to kill Chopper. I don't know. I mean, they don't kill like C-3PO, R2, BB-8.
That's true.
Really, any of the droids, like,
not yet.
Not yet. So I don't think he's going anywhere. So yes,
I mean, R2's invincible, so he'll never die.
Indeed. Am I missing anybody? Hera's going to survive.
I don't think so.
Yeah, basically where I differed is I said Zeb is going to die, Sabine is going to live, and specifically I think Sabine is going to get some more roles in Mando moving forward as well.
So we're going to talk about more of some story-fueled predictions. This is where we're going to say, this is what's going to happen in the story other than who's going to live and who's going to die. We're guessing where the story is going to go. Like, what are some thematic points that we're going to hit on? One person we didn't actually guess if who's going to live or die. Do you think Thrawn is going to survive?
Season 1? Yeah. Yes, I think he's going to survive. Yes. I'm going to say yes.
I agree. And I have a very specific reason for agreeing. We'll go into it now. I think Thrawn is going to live because they said, sorry, there was a mosquito on my monitor. They're the very specific words of Thrawn being the heir to the Empire. This is very important to Star Wars. So if you don't know, Heir to the Empire and its subsequent novels, Dark Force Rising and The Last Command, is the original trilogy of books that came out, I think, in the 90s, where Thrawn is first introduced by author Timothy Zahn, and he devastates the New Republic. They cannot pin him down. They can't outsmart him. They can't outflank him. And really, that's what we see in Rebels, too. The only reason that they even get the upper hand is because the Force is kind of used as like a Chekhov's gun kind of thing. Like anytime Thrawn loses, it's because the Force is involved, and that's something that he can't really predict very well.
Although, if you look in Thrawn's chambers, you see the statuesque figurines of two Islamari who are
That's true.
the Star Wars equivalent of gnolls from Warhammer. They basically they basically exhibit a field of force canceling aura.
Yeah.
And that plagues Luke Skywalker quite a bit in the original Thrawn trilogy.
Indeed. In the original Thrawn trilogy, the New Republic is not able to kill Thrawn. The only reason Thrawn is vanquished in those books is because his deception over the Noghri people, and specifically Rook, his little bodyguard, is found out. And Rook stabs him. Just puts a knife straight in his chest. And it's like, and as soon as Thrawn dies, the entire Imperial army and navy at the engagement, that because he gets stabbed in like the middle of a battle, they just fall to pieces, and the rebels, or I keep calling them the rebels, the New Republic decimates them. That's
he's the glue that holds everybody together.
Yes, and without his staggering intellect, the Empire has no chance. And I think that's probably what we're going to see is, I think at some point Thrawn will die. I don't think it's going to be this season. I think season 1 is going to be kind of similar story beats wise to Heir to the Empire. I don't think they're going to bring in characters like Mara Jade or her smuggler friend whose name I can't remember. Talon Card, he's probably not going to show up. Whether or not the Islamir will show up at all, I'm not sure. But things we have seen the cloning facility in Mount Tantus. That's a thing. That's canon. It shows up in the Bad Batch.
Yep. Stuff's happening.
Stuff's happening. You know, like they're really laying the groundwork for this story. And what I'm thinking is that the Dark Jedi we see with the orange lightsabers are a direct result of the Mount Tantus cloning facility.
That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Because then Jedi, baby.
Because then if they die, there's more. And that makes the threat exponentially larger. Because like Ahsoka, she can get it. First off, she kills anyone who steps in front of her. Like, it's almost hilarious whenever like one of the Inquisitors is like, I'm going to challenge you, and she's like, I guess I'll just cut you in half then. Like,
like one of them. Remember, she's trained by Anakin Skywalker, who is the best swordsman of his era, and he pushes her hard. There's that episode of the Clone Wars where they are reminiscing with how Ahsoka basically survives Order 66 in the final season of Clone Wars, and her training basically involves her getting shot over and over and over again by literally a circle of executioner style clones. Yeah. And Anakin just, every time she gets, they're using stun because it's practice, right? But every time she gets stunned, Anakin just says, get up. He just says, get up every single time. And he's like,
his training is brutal.
He knows that she is going to need to take on as many adversaries as possible, and she needs every ounce of training possible to survive. And to Anakin later to become Darth Vader's, to his own credit, she survives Order 66. And it's like, well, that's your fault, dude. You trained her really, really well. So that one's on you.
Okay, so the Dark Jedi are clones. That's a prediction. Can you hit us with some of your predictions, and then I'm going to talk about my other predictions?
Yes. So I kind of labeled all of my predictions. So I'll summarize some of the ones I've already said already. I kind of made an easy, a medium, and a hard prediction. My
Sure
easy
thing.
one was like they're gonna find Ezra. Like, of course, Ezra's gonna come back. My difficult prediction was specifically that Zeb's going to die and specifically actually be killed by Thrawn. But my medium prediction is actually that we're gonna see some new force powers evolved into this season. I think with the Purgles basically taking Ezra and Thrawn to an unknown place, I think that this is going to result in Ezra having a chance to commune with the Force in a way that teaches him new skills, and I think he's going to pass those along to Ahsoka.
I think that's a really interesting point. I definitely think that's going to happen. I would be surprised if that didn't happen, actually. Um, so yeah, I really like that you kind of phrase this as like, hey, this is probably a gimme. But if it's not, if it doesn't happen, that subverts our expectations, and that's awesome. Like,
Exactly.
we like that too.
We are more than okay with being wrong
Yeah.
because then again, just like you said, expectations get subverted. It keeps you tied in that way, and you can't.
Yes.
It's nice when you don't just like, oh, I guess this is going to happen, then this, then this, then this, then this, and it's like, okay, well, like then go be a writer then. Like,
Yeah. I don't like your difficult prediction. This will make me sad.
I think yes, I think it will make me sad if Zeb gets killed by Thrawn, but I think that it always increases the stakes when you know that a character is in higher danger and they're like, "Hey, you actually might get killed off." Then it increases the suspense of the setting. Because if you're just like no one's going to die, like you're pretty confident that nobody's going to die, and then it just kind of makes whatever mission they're on not really seem that important because like, oh, like they might
There's
fail
no
their mission,
stakes
but
then.
yeah, there's like there needs to be stakes. There needs to be stakes.
Follow-up question: New York or porterhouse?
New York.
Although I'm like, I constantly crave that smoked steak you made us a couple months ago.
Oh,
The
that
tri-tip.
baby.
Oh, so good. To all the other dads out there, or men who just have strong dad energy, because we don't have kids, smoke your steak. It's so good.
Some cuts of steak I don't think I would ever throw on a smoker, but when you get like bigger pieces of beef and you're like, well, this wouldn't make a good like pan fried steak, then it's like, dude, throw it in the smoker, man. Like, cover it in a good aioli later. You're gonna have a great time. Watch some Star Wars with that bad boy and pretend it's bantha meat. Like, have a good time.
I once went to a restaurant and one server was like, "We have garlic aioli as a dipping option for your fries." And I said, "I would like that. That sounds amazing." And a different server came out and he goes, "Here's your garlic mayo." And I was like, "Man, don't call it that. That's so embarrassing."
Okay, first of all mayos are basically aiolis, but not aiolis or mayonnaise. Like, mayonnaise doesn't have garlic in it. Aioli usually has like a higher percentage of lemon in it as well, so it's a little bit more tart. You can put kind of whatever flavors you want. And mayo, that we think of it, we're getting distracted here, guys, but we're going to go into more of Andrew's predictions in a moment. Mayo, as people think of it, is just hydrogenated oil. It's not taken with the care of like emulsifying oil into an egg yolk with salt, lemon, garlic, and other flavors. It's just kind of like, hey, we whipped this oil until it could be spread like a jelly. Have your mayonnaise. It's totally different. It's
Yeah.
in the definitions as he's saying it, he's not wrong. He's not wrong, but it's
Yeah.
still rude, and I don't like it.
I felt unnecessarily savaged in that moment, and even my wife Sarah laughed.
Yeah.
She's like, geez,
Got him.
It's like that is a great way to make me sound like a tubblard. It's like, I'm sorry, I like dipping my deep fried French fries into more fat. It's delicious and unctuous, and I love it.
I'm so sorry you got roasted. It's got umami. I'm so sorry you got roasted by that server.
Oh yeah, you know what? It's fair. He wasn't wrong. One of the worst sayings ever is like, "What's the best kind of excuse me, one of the worst sayings that I hate and sometimes I use all the time is being technically correct is the best kind of correct. It's like, fine. I want to share some of my predictions, and I feel like they are. I have one long ball and one that I think is a little bit closer to reality. So one of the main story beats to the heir to the Empire storyline is that of Katana Fleet, or that of the Dark Force. This is a fleet of cruisers slash dreadnoughts from the Clone Wars that were all slaved together, which is just a way of saying their computers were linked in such a way that if one ship went somewhere, all of the others would follow. This means that only one ship has to make hyperspace calculations, and then you slave all the ships together so that the one ship with the ability to make those calculations just does it for everyone else. It feeds them the coordinates, and they automatically follow. That's a big thing. So the Katana fleet, it was this massive fleet that apparently was, in the fight for their lives, and the commander of the Katana fleet made a random hyperspace jump out into the middle of space, and then something went terribly wrong, so that him and his entire fleet, so the Katana and the rest of the Dark Force, was just lost in deep space. So it's this like urban legend in Star Wars that there's basically just a bunch of free ships for grabs if someone can find it. It's like buried treasure, but in space. And basically, whoever can find this massive fleet would be the new power in the galaxy. And we see Thrawn in the books find these ships. I think that's where they're going to go with it. I think that's pretty reasonable. Cool. It would be so cool. Yeah, I think that's where they're going to go, especially since, Thrawn is here. This is the time in the original era where Thrawn was first introduced, was the expanded universe, i.e. after episode 6. So it just makes sense. My other prediction, which I think is a total stretch, but I think Thrawn is hunting for the Starforge. So, and
that would be so cool.
And I think this because the star maps, or just the maps that are shown in the scenes with the old governor, the one that has the Beskar spear, because she shows up in some of the trailers, they look shockingly similar to the star maps we see in Knights of the Old Republic, where you get these star maps, you go around, you find all the star maps, and it leads you to the planet where the remnants of the Rakuten Empire are. And from there's a facility that also controls the nearby orbiting Starforge, which is like this force-powered factory in space that can just create matter, I think is how it's described. It basically, you can just like pump in the schematic of a Death Star and it will crap out a Death Star. You want 6 of them? Here's 6 of them. And I think it's called the Starforge because it uses the power of a sun. So very similar in the way that Starkiller Base uses the energy from a sun to fuel its main gun. That's what the Starforge does. That would be pretty cool, in my opinion. I think it's a total long shot. I think less than a 5% chance this is going to happen.
They have so many different avenues to pursue with Ahsoka, because they've already kind of prompted us like, hey, we're looking for Ezra, we're looking for Thrawn, but other than that, there's a lot of different things we can start tying in.
For sure. From there, I don't really have any other predictions.
As we go through and we kind of watch, and we're gonna do our Ahsoka breakdown a little bit different, mostly just because there's a lot of stuff coming out, and Andrew and I want to stay on top of everything. So for you guys to know how our format's going to go, instead of doing a play-by-play or an episode-by-episode review, we're basically going to be chunking it up into essentially 3 episodes. Well, three podcast episodes to cover the entire series. So we'll do kind of like a beginning, middle, end sort of situation. So that way we are taking everything in big chunks, giving you guys plenty of time to watch, and not spending like 8 weeks covering just one topic, because there is quite a few other things that are coming down the wire that we do want to talk about.
Yeah, I think from there we can probably move into our news from the HoloNet. Because like we said, we cover a lot of different IPs. We're not just a Star Wars podcast. We talk about a lot of different things, but Star Wars is probably our number one. That's why we're called Talk About Tatooine and not Talk About something else.
Something else. We have a lot of news from the HoloNet, guys, so let's jump right in. Recently, we have gotten some more gameplay for Space Marine 2, and it continues to follow the arc of kind of where 10th edition is right now. Tyranids are invading the galaxy, and so that's what you're going to be fighting against, I believe, on 2 different planets now. So you are Brother Captain, or I think you're Captain Lieutenant.
Lieutenant.
You are Brother Lieutenant Titus, and you got reinstated, essentially.
Titus is actually how it's pronounced.
Thank you so much. I'm so bad at English. Captain Titus is going to be engaging Tyranids.
Dude, I'm pulling your leg. It's Titus.
I wanted the viewers to be like, no, he's going to go along with it. He's going to say Titus for the next 5 minutes. That's okay.
You got me too. I was like, no, don't do that.
Life's too short to not be silly, guys. So that being said, we're super excited about the new 3-player co-op. Me, you, and a buddy of ours basically do all of our gaming together. And so having 3-player co-op, it's like they made it just for us. And I'm so excited. If we can manage this, I want to stream this on Twitch as well. I would love to go through like a campaign tutorial over on Talk About Tatooine's Twitch channel. So make sure you guys follow us over there as well. We do a lot of really fun stuff over on Twitch, and we're hoping to get a more regular schedule of Twitch streaming out, which I say that, and we're going on vacation in like a week from tomorrow. So it's like, so it's not super regular yet, but especially once like September rolls around, I think we're going to be hitting the ground pretty hard with a pretty regular streaming schedule as well. So we're pretty excited about that. Next one, earlier this week, actually, today's August 4th. So as of yesterday, August 3rd, a new model has been released in the Tights lineup. Tights? No. Knights. I got Titans and Knights mixed up.
How could you? You fool. You have made a blunder and you are now an idiot forever.
I'll just retire from podcasting.
I'll finish the news from here because Nathan doesn't know how to read. The new Knights models have been released.
Our listeners are probably hating us right now. So
they're like, these losers.
So I realized I didn't write down the actual like name of the knight while we were in there.
It's your Cerastus.
Cerastus Lancer.
Cerastus, I think. Mm-hmm. Cerastus. I'm not actually sure.
We'll have to wait until we hear it on audiobook until some British man pronounces it for us. So,
yeah, I think it's going to kick some Cerastus, though, because hot dang, this thing has a really strong melee weapon.
So this is like a Knight's model that is literally, so it's shooting range. And if you guys don't follow us on Twitter, I did post the data sheets onto our Twitter already. So even by the time of this recording, which is August 4th, you guys can find those data sheets for the Imperium version and the Chaos version, because they do have different abilities. This guy has a 12-inch range on his shooting weapon, and it's assault. So he's not supposed to stay back. It's literally like a shield and spear wielding giant robot. And this model is all about taking the fight to the enemy. Melee Knights, baby. Let's go.
I wasn't too thrilled with the appearance of this. This knight kind of has legs for days, which in my robots, that's not really what I'm looking for.
Sorry, guys.
But it seems like it seems like it's really cool. It has some really strong abilities, and anything with a strength 20 weapon, I'm like, oh, I'm interested. I'm listening. Also, its deadly demise is D6 plus 2, which is awesome. Its bondsman ability it can charge and advance in the same turn, or it can make because it's a bondsman ability, it can make one of its little kid knights, whatever they're called, armigers. It gives it that ability as well. But shock charge is really good. You can target this model with the tank shock stratagem for 0 CP. Free strats are huge in 10th edition. Oh gosh, they're so good.
Especially with CP being such a commodity now.
Yes, it's a
having
very
free
rare
CP
resource.
stratagems is awesome.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, their strength 20 Cerastus Shock Lance has the Lance keyword, so it does more things when you charge with it too. Like it's really good at being melee. And the Chaos version is pretty similar. Yeah. Overall, this is probably a pretty good night to have. If you're going to run one of these. So this is going to be almost a 500 point model. So if you're running this in a combat patrol, this is half your force. So this is probably what you're going to want to do if you run this in a combat patrol.
Wouldn't this be most of your combat patrol if it's 500 points?
Actually, yeah, it would be your entire combat patrol. I'm thinking the next level up. Incursion, I think, is what it is. That's probably wrong. And in a 1,000 point game, if you're going to run one of these guys, you're going to want to run him and probably just armigers for the rest of your points, probably between 4 and 5 armigers if you can swing it. I would probably pick 2 melee armigers and 2 shooting armigers. That way your Cerastus Knight can be flanked by 2 bodyguards essentially, and then you can stick your other armigers onto objectives and just plink away at your enemy. That would be my recommendation.
I'm really excited about this model. We did an episode completely covering Imperial Knights a while ago, and I really want to play Knights. So yeah,
I know. I'm like I can't spend my money on Knights. I have to buy food for my family.
Indeed. We'll hit you guys with just one more piece of news. This is going to be a little bit outdated by the time you guys hear this, but the Meg 2, The Trench, premieres today. And honestly, looking at the reviews and just the trailer in general, it promises to be just as cheesy as the first one.
If you're interested in watching this movie, we should go see it when we're in Vegas, because Sarah does not want to see this movie with me.
I don't know if I would want to pay money to see this. That's the problem.
I can hook you up. Okay. I have a lot of free tickets.
Oh, well, in that case.
Because I loved the first one. The first one's on HBO, and every time I look past it, I was like, I wouldn't mind watching that again, because it's fun. It's
knowing that it's silly made it really fun for me to watch, because I watched it on HBO last week because I saw a commercial for it, and I was like, oh, I should watch the first one, and it's on HBO for free. So I watched it, and I was like, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
I did not spend money on it. I was drinking the entire time, and I just got to cuddle my dogs like the whole time, and it wasn't scary. Like, also, it's Meg 2. I didn't check on Meg 1, but Meg 2 is considered a science fiction, which I guess is technically true, because everything that they have going on, like the whole underwater facilities and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, those probably couldn't exist very easily. Or the fact that, yeah, everything they do is just wild. But yeah, that's coming out. We might have to do a little bit of review of silliness on that. But Andrew, if you have anything else to add, I will outro us. I'll hit us and send this bad boy out.
I don't think I have anything else. If you guys really like the podcast, please share it with your friends. That means the world to us. So we would really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Every single one of you is amazing, lovely, beautiful, handsome. We're super happy you guys stayed all the way until the end. Make sure you guys leave your theories about Ahsoka in the comments. We want to share them. We want to see how many of you guys are doing well with theories, how many of you guys did not. If you guys are fans of Warhammer 40K or any of the other tabletop games that cover Lord of the Rings, fantasy stuff, Star Wars has a couple of different like tabletop games as well. Show us your models. We would love to actually like post those to Instagram, post those to Twitter. If you guys have questions, you guys can also shoot us an email. If you guys don't know what an email is because you are too young, it is the thing that allows you to sign up for most of your services. So you can email us at talkabouttatooine@gmail.com. I know, super bad joke.
It's a dumb joke.
Yep. If it's staying in there, though, because I'm the editor. If you have any questions you
I
want
don't
field on
support
air,
this.
let us know there. Make sure to subscribe, like the video so the algorithmic overlords will slice this video into the feeds of other like-minded folk. And until next time, may the Force be with you.
Close your eyes.